Do you do border runs to Ukraine?
Yeah, between basically Lublin and Lviv, and I like that border crossing because they don't ask any questions. The only other place I've done the border run is here at Gdansk airport, and there were a few more questions, nothing really concerning, but I just like the no questions asked that happens at the border there. My guess is the reason they don't ask any questions is because they've got a bigger problem there with the smuggling of cigarettes, alcohol, meats, and cheeses and whatnot. So it's very interesting. Roosh describes that border crossing in one of his posts, and it is pretty accurate. You know, you'll see all sorts of, like, almost every vehicle there, like, they have to take apart the panels of the vehicle because smuggling is such an issue there. So that's why.
Maybe they're bringing cocaine to the country or something.
Yeah.
I have a Polish passport now, so I don't have to worry about it anymore. But I did the border run once 3 years ago to Lviv, and I wouldn't do it again. Maybe it's changed now, but it was a really long bus ride from Warsaw to Lviv, and on the way back, I remember, I think the total trip was like 8 or 9 hours, but 4.5 hours of that was waiting at the border. 3 hours on the Ukrainian side and an hour and a half on the Polish side. So they were, checked everybody's bags and all this. So maybe it's changed, but I think if I want to go to Lviv now, I'll take a plane.
You guys, Ray, have you ever overstayed? Did you ever have any problems did you overstay like past 90 days?
No, I've never overstayed. I've always done the border runs.
Okay.
And
that was what got me. Because I overstayed when I did my border run.
Right, for Ukraine, I remember that. Yeah. But Ukraine is different because you can just the fine isn't that steep, I've heard, right?
Well, dude, it wasn't the fine, man. It was everything else that they put me through. Because I went to Moldova, and the Ukraine Moldova border is very. We took a bus. They pulled us on the border. They take the passports, and we're all waiting in the bus for the guy to come back. And then I just hear yelling from outside. I hear, "American! American, you come out here now!" And they pull me off the bus. They make me grab all my shit. They send the bus on its way, and then they put me into a room. This is back in January. They put me into a room without heat, and they asked me questions for 2 hours. Well, not 2 hours straight, but they would come in and out with different questions. And they're like, "What are you doing? You can't. You overstayed. You overstayed. I don't know what you're doing here, but you can't come back. You're banned for 6 months. Don't come back to Ukraine."
Whoa.
And I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about. I thought I had 180 days. I can't believe it. I'm just a stupid American tourist." And they finally sent me on my way, but man, it was a terrible experience.
Oh. Okay, that's a good FYI, guys. Any guys who are listening, don't test that overstaying in Ukraine.
Well, I think it's the overstay and the going to Moldova, the combination. They're not very nice at that border. Luckily, when I got to Chisinau, I got my temporary residency permit pretty quickly, and I was able to re-enter. And obviously, I wasn't banned for 6 months, but they put the fear in me that I wasn't going to be able to come back.
Yeah.
Now you're not leaving, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm scared to leave. I paid the fine, but I heard another horror story where one of the teachers also overstayed. He paid the fine, but then they were lazy and they didn't process it in the system. And he flew home to go back home for a week. When he came back, they were like, "No, you're banned. You can't come back in." And because some lazy ass bureaucrat never processed it in the system, and it's like. Yeah, so yeah, exactly. So I'm scared to leave.
And you said you're teaching English?
Yeah. I have an English teacher here in Kiev.
Yeah.
How does that work for you?
It's amazing, actually. My students, they're all very serious about learning English, and I've made a lot of good friends just from current and former students. Obviously, there's lots of pretty girls that come into classes too, so it gives you like access, and if you're the teacher, like it already gives you the introduction and the you have the value assigned to you and this and that, and it's a great way to meet girls. It's a great way to make friends with the guys. It's great all around, and it pays pretty well.
Yeah, I'd like to elaborate on that. I know sometimes on the forum, guys think you can't really make a living teaching English. Like if you want to make any money teaching English, you have to go to like China or rural China or something to make any money. That I remember that isn't the case for you.
It's not true for me. I mean, I don't know what people like think of when they say make a living. Like I can save half of what I make. I have my own apartment, so like I pay rent, I can pay for food, I can go out and buy clothes and eat dinner at restaurants and still save a good chunk of what I make. If I wanted to, I mean, that's only working 30 hours. That's only 30 hours a week, by the way. I took a side gig teaching kids on Saturdays just because I like, it's like easy money, and because I'm studying Russian now, like it's good for my Russian to be around kids and practice speaking Russian with them, listening to them speak simple Russian. It helps me. It's very easy for me to live here teaching English.
Are most of the hours you work all through one language school?
Yeah, they're all through one language school. I'm not gonna name the school, but yeah, it's like I work in the evenings. Usually, it's 4 to 10 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Did you have to get any certifications to do that?
I did. I do have a certification, but I don't think they actually check it. It's good to have it though, because the training was good that I got for my certification, and they just ask that you have a degree, then they'll ask you if you have the certification. I sent in both of mine, but I don't think they ever checked it actually.
Cool. You were gonna say, Nick?
Yeah, I don't work full time, but I do teach English lessons privately. There's a website that I think it's called NomadofEU.pl, and you can put your profile up on there, and people can contact you to take lessons. And since I've had my profile on there, I've gotten maybe a dozen students. Not all of them at the same time, but over a period of the last 6 months or so. And so I still have some regular students, and I get regular offers from language schools. I think they just send it out to a bunch of people, but if I wanted to, I could work at one of these language schools, and I have a friend who does it for a living. Basically, he's British, and he has both private students, and he works at several language schools, also at like a tech company where he's the resident English teacher.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like, there's the language school that also gives you exposure to different jobs outside of the school, and especially if you teach corporate classes, like they'll pay you a lot of money. Just not a lot of money, but it's a lot of money to Ukrainians.
Yeah.
They'll pay just for like a 1 hour just conversation class where you basically go in and you talk. You can have a business conversation. You can have an anything conversation, really. You can talk to them about anything. They just want to practice English for like 60 minutes, 90 minutes, and they'll pay you really well for it because they want the practice with the native speaker.
I think the one thing that's kind of prevented me from doing more of it so far is that you'll get offers for places that are like far away, or it just doesn't make sense to drive half an hour or an hour on public transportation. So I'm not in a position right now where I have to take these lessons, but the option is there.
Yeah, and it's great to always have that option. Like if you need it, it's always going to be there waiting for you. That's something else that when you move east, when you move to Eastern Europe from the United States, I think a lot of people don't think about that. Like there are opportunities to make money that people don't consider.
And I think for me, it's been a big factor as far as my satisfaction with being in Poland, is that being a native English speaker in Poland is much more valuable than knowing Polish living in America. Unless I was working at a specific university or something very niche. But being a native English speaker in Eastern Europe is a big asset, especially if you're outgoing and like to meet new people and potentially teach English. So you're someone that's in demand.
Yeah, Nick, you're actually in a very you have a good opportunity too, because your Polish is very good, so you could probably teach English to Polish students that have like very little or no experience learning English. When I get my students, they're already on second or third level. So because they can't, they have to have some English training to come into my class and understand what I'm saying. But you could like teach them from scratch.
Yeah, and most of my students have had a decent amount of English, so we can communicate well. But it's been a big help for the ones that are less, they're more shy, to know that I know Polish and that we can figure something out. They don't have to stress themselves out too much about figuring out the right word.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Yeah, that's a great conversation because, it's, again, a lot of guys think that, they can't make a living in Eastern Europe, that, if you teach English in Eastern Europe, you'll be living hand to mouth. And, it's great to hear from you guys that, no, it definitely is possible. It's money is not an excuse not to come over here if that's what you want.
I mean, if you have the expectation to live in a high-rise apartment in the center of the city, then you're probably going to need something else besides English teaching to get your income up there. But if you're okay with having your own place and maybe it's not in the center, maybe you have to go a few metro stations outside of the center to get home every night, then I think it's going to be okay for you.
What was your experience with that, Nick? Like, what are reasonable expectations for an English teacher in Warsaw?
It really depends. I mean, I just use this one website, but that's one of other options you can do. Just giving the example of my one friend who does this, he works probably 20 to 30 hours a week, a mix of private lessons and working at a school and also a private company. But I think it's reasonable to ask for like $15 an hour and up in the Polish equivalent. So that's roughly what I'm getting. And of course, you have more options when you do work at these schools, which I haven't done yet, so I can't really comment on it. But depending on the school, it gives you access to regular lessons, and that way someone can work, maybe 20 or plus hours a week and actually cover their costs.
What's the Polish currency like? What's the
zloty, and it's the zloty, and it's close to 4 zlotys for $1. It's like 3.83 right now.
4 to 1. Okay. All right. Yeah. So 15 an hour, man. That's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-mm.
No, and I mean, California is ridiculously expensive compared even to the rest of the U.S., but I'd say cost of living here in Warsaw compared to what I was living in California, it's like roughly a half or even a third.
Yeah.
There. I mean, with rent alone, it's like 1/5 or 1/6 of what I would be paying there.
Yeah, my rent where I'm at is a little over $200 a month, and I was paying 4 times that for a very small place in San Diego.
Is it your place, or are you sharing a place?
No, it's my place. It's got a big living room, a big bedroom, kitchen, bathroom. Like it's got it all. And if I had to pay for this apartment back in San Diego, the price would be I don't know, at least probably around $2,000 a month.
Whew.
Yeah, I'm a little bit jealous because I pay double or more than double what you do, but I have it's perfect location. It's walking distance to everything. I barely take public transportation.